Okay, this section is on reflections. And for the first example, we're going to do a reflection over the x-axis. You can actually reflect over more than, you can reflect over any line. The y-axis, y equals 2, y equals x, y equals negative x, etc. So for this one, I want to take triangle ABC and I want to reflect it over the x-axis. So this is the x-axis, and give the coordinates of its image and label it triangle A prime, B prime, C prime. So I'm going to take triangle ABC and I'm going to reflect it over the x-axis. And let's see if I can move it. Get it close as possible. And I'm going to highlight my x-axis in red. Now this becomes A prime, B becomes B prime, and C is also C prime. Now notice C did not change. So the coordinate point for C is going to be 3, 0. And the coordinate point for A, so the coordinate point for C was 3, 0, but since C didn't move, C prime is also 3, 0. For A, we go to the left 4, and we go up 7. So when I reflect it over, the x is going to stay the same, but instead of going up to -4, going up to +7, I'm going to go down to -7. So this becomes -4, -7. Okay, sorry for that interruption. B prime. Okay, so B is going to be -6, and we're going to go up 4 for B. So B prime is going to be -6, -4. Okay, again, my flip was a little off. And these are our coordinate points. Okay, so for the reflection, okay, here, these are a couple of lines that are going to be common. You're going to see these quite often, so it is worth our time to go over them. Reflection in the y-axis. So this is my y-axis. And if I take point 2, let's just call this 2 and 4. 2, 4. Actually, no, I want to do -2, 4 because I want to put a negative in. So -2, +4. And I'm going to call this A. So point A, and I want to reflect over the y-axis, is my reflection. Over y-axis. So if I'm reflecting over my y-axis, then that means it's going to be equal distant from the y-axis on both sides. So if it's 2 to the left, it's going to be 2 to the right. So my new point, or A prime, is going to be 2, 4. So a reflection over the y-axis, your A changes, but your y stays the same. So y is still going to be B, just like we had 4 and 4. They stayed the same. But what happened between A and A prime well, we did the opposite. So it was negative, it became a positive. So to represent an opposite, I'm going to put negative A. Now for the x-axis, a reflection over the x-axis. So let's pick a point 1, -1. And I want to reflect over the x-axis. And so here's my x-axis I'm going to highlight and plot my point +1 but -1. And I'm going to call this T. So T prime, well, if I reflect this over the x-axis, it's going to be equidistant from the x-axis, so it's going to go up 1. So my new point, the original was 1, -1. My new point is going to be 1, +1. So the reflection over the x-axis, the x stays the same, but my y changes. Now for the y equals x line, basically you're just switching the x and y. So if you have AB, then it's going to be BA. And I'm going to draw my y equals x line. Okay, that was a bad drawing there. Okay, so the y equals x line, actually that is not the y equals x line, that's the y equals -x. Sorry. So the y equals x line, how about I just use the tool? Here we go. So that's going to be my y equals x line. And I want to pick a point. So my point is going to be, how about -3, 2. So we're going to call this point R. So R is going to be -3, 2. And I want to reflect over the y equals x. So basically we're going to R prime, we're going to switch. So negative, and I mean 2, -3. So go over to +2 and down 3. And you have R prime. Okay, I went over 2 and down 2. Over 2 and down 3 is what I was supposed to do. There we go. R prime. I knew I was wrong because when I looked at my picture, first of all, I saw that it was not 3 blocks down, but this, it should you can kind of eyeball it. It should be equal distance. You want it to be equal distance from that y equals x line. Now for y equals -x, you are going to switch them and you're going to make them negative. So it's going to be -b and -a. And the y equals -x line has a negative slope. And I'm going to plot this time, how about I'm going to use the same point. No, I don't want to use -3, 2. -2, 4. So -2, +4. And this is n. And then I want to do n prime. So n prime, well, we said n was -2, 4. So n prime after we reflect over the y equals is going to be -4. Since this is already negative, the opposite of -2 is going to be +2. So my n prime point, I'm going to plot that to be I'm going to plot this to be -4. So we're going to go over -4 and up 2. So that's going to be my n prime. And again, I'm eyeballing it. It should be, somewhat equal distance from the y equals -x line. Can you pass the SOL? Triangle ABC with vertices located at A, 1, 1, B, 2, -3, and C, -1, -4. Triangle ABC will be reflected over the y equals x line. So basically, y equals x, what was the rule for y equals x? You switch the x and y. So if I'm looking at C prime, I'm going to take C and I'm going to switch the x and y, and my answer should be -4, -1. Okay, do the rest on your own.